Number 1, hardware comparison. The iPhone 14 Pro Max is a triple camera system. Similar to all of its predecessors, the 48 megapixel wide-angle camera is joined by an ultra-wide 3x telephoto lens to achieve maximum versatility. Both weigh in at 12 megapixel. The 49 megapixel camera sensor has also allowed Apple to throw in a 12 megapixel 2x telephoto mate that uses the main camera sensor and benefits from its wider aperture. You can use the software camera mode both in the regular photo and portrait modes so that you can achieve a zoomed but more natural field of view. Meanwhile, the iPhone 14 Plus uses the same camera setup found on the iPhone 14. 12 megapixel main wide-angle camera is joined by a 12 megapixel ultra-wide one. With the same Photonic Engine and other machine learning goodies like Smart HDR4, Deep Fusion, Photographic Styles, and more. Overall image quality is slightly better than iPhone 13, which can be mostly attributed to the use of Photonic Engine. Number 2, recording capabilities. First of all, no 8K video recording has been introduced by either device. The iPhone 14 Pro Max and 14 Plus now support cinematic mode, though in up to 4K HDR 30 FPS, a big leap over last year's somewhat limited cinematic mode of 1080p at up to 30 FPS on the iPhone 13 series. There are many other novelties in terms of video on both the phones, including action mode, which can shoot at up to 2080 by 2160 at 60 FPS, as well as much improved pro-level workflows for video. Finally, both the devices share our new 12 megapixel FaceTime selfie camera with the autofocus and fast f/1.9 aperture. If anything, it also supports cinematic mode at up to 4K HDR at 30 FPS, if that matters to you. Number 3, image quality. In terms of image quality, one thing is immediately apparent. The high-resolution camera of the iPhone 14 Pro Max definitely has a way lot more data to work with, which leads to more detailed images with more information in the shadowy areas. Aside from that, both phones exude the well-known iPhone camera's looks with a similar consistent color science and dynamics. You can see in low-light scenarios, the iPhone 14 Pro Max pulls ahead, but the difference are by no means as stark as we'd like them to be. Definitely room for improvement on the 48 megapixel camera's account in the future. You can see in the pictures, wide-angle camera does a fairly similar job in the either devices. Selfie comparison. Finally, when it comes to selfie, both the phones have scored improved selfie cameras with autofocus, which means better selfies across the board. Portrait is good on the both phones with a good background separation. Zooming. In terms of zoom, we would recommend trying to zoom with the iPhone 14 Plus. It maxes out at 5x, which is a rather pathetic digital zoom capability. At the same time, iPhone 14 Pro Max is much more capable telephoto machine with a maximum of 30x hybrid zoom at 3x. The phone switches to its dedicated telephoto camera with delivering outstanding results, whereas the iPhone 14 Plus simply crops out from its main camera. No contest. Really, the iPhone 14 Pro Max wins this by a landslide. Bonus tips. What makes iPhone cameras different from other smartphone cameras? Apple introduces a new, considerably larger 48 megapixel camera sensor, which is exclusively available on the top-tier iPhone 14 Pro and iPhone 14 Pro Max flagships. Thanks to quad-pixel binding, this sensor combines the raw data from 4 pixels into one to theoretically achieve super sharper detail. Superior dynamic range and low light sensitivity, later sensitivity. The later is further aided by Apple's new Photonic Engine, a term depicting an enhanced new image pipeline that dramatically improves low light photos. By default, the iPhone 14 Pro Max camera still outputs 12 megapixel images, but you can opt to take at full 48 megapixel Pro RAW images, which routinely weigh in above 19 megabytes. You can go through for the other videos to know more about the Pro RAW formats of the images. Have a great day.